Vibes Nation, now is the moment that not only you have been waiting for, Heno and I have absolutely been waiting for, where we head over to our conversation with the Fire Mama, aka Queen Ifrica. If you check out her social media platforms, it has been inspirational. It has been actually incredible how vocal she has been, how woke she has been, how aware she has been on what has been happening in the world right now, but not just that, forever. Talking about issues of police brutality, talking about issues of rape, talking about issues for the entirety of her career, known as much of an activist, in her local community and the world at large, as an artist, and not just any artist, Heno, a Billboard reggae album topping artist. Welcome to the show. We are so honored, Miss Queen Ifrica.
Hello,
Miss Queen Ifrica. Welcome to the show. We are so honored to have you here.
thank you very much for having me.
Muma, I hope we didn't wake you up. Are you done with the exercise for the morning?
I didn't exercise today.
Why is that?
Some days, like if I go for 3 days, I take a day break, and because I'm not an athlete. I'm not trying to be the Olympics or anything. I'm just trying to stay healthy,
Yeah.
I like that. So, first and foremost, we've been having a conversation in the show for the last week about Black Lives Matter, and I've really been following your social media platform on, especially regarding your voice on police brutality, on the role that Black people have to play to be very vocal about what's happening right now. We've been speaking to people from across the world, so we'd love to hear your psychology on Black Lives Matter, the broader movement. When you look at the Caribbean and you look at Africa, what role do we have to play in that broader conversation that right now seems to be very centered around George Floyd?
Well, history is a funny thing, It would seem like George was the first individual to be brutalized by white supremacy.
Yeah.
But that happens to fall under time and how things play out in the course of history. However, what we are experiencing at this time around is the fact that technology have now become a part of the struggle. Where long gone are the days when you'd have to have a little television set in your house to see what they choose to show you.
Sure.
Now you have people in real time walking around with real high technology cell phones that can tape things, go live, do whatever in real time.
Sure.
And so I think in the case of George, that is what happened. Someone filmed it, shared it to the world, and the graphicness, if I can say that, of the video, and the fact that we are in the middle of this pandemic and everybody in the four corners of the world were ordered to be at home. So it gave people who wouldn't normally pay attention to these things because of the different things that they have dealing with in their everyday lives. This afforded them the occasion to stop for a second and to really look at this thing,
Sure, yeah.
And I think the fact that people have been in their homes for 4 months inside, and now this great accident happened, and then people wanted a reason to come outside as well, and what were their cause to come outside for,
Yeah.
And so you see what's happening in the four corners of the earth. How do we use that now to the benefit of the Black people who are still suffering while these protests are happening?
Yeah.
Right? Black people are still on the back leg. We need, if this thing is going to work, what we are going to need to see is all the powers in white supremacy coming forward on the main grid and really speaking to the issues of slavery and racism and what it does to people in their everyday lives, So it's a complex situation that can be used to at least start looking at how we approach discussing the way forward from racism.
Yeah, and some of the conversation that we've had over the last week, and you even addressed it on your page, was there is a lot of black people who are not standing at the forefront of this conversation. And if you bring it all the way back to this continent, xenophobia, you see it across the continent. You see black people hating on fellow black people. And I was so happy when I saw your post, the house slaves are selling us out again. Black people, please open your eyes. Marcus was killed 80 years ago today. And today, so many years later, not every black person is rooting for us. They are still helping the white supremacy to keep us where we are. Play close attention, black people. And we had a conversation earlier on, and the gentleman that we spoke to from Ghana said it almost hurts more when it's a black brother or a black sister who's not standing in solidarity for a cause that impacts us all. It almost hurts more. So what can we do to encourage, to support, and to call out our, as you put them, house slaves when they act like that?
Right, because in the slavery days, right, the house slave idea came from the brothers and sisters who were allowed to live in the house of the slave masters. And then they would, in the night when the work is done and everything, and they've done what they're supposed to do, they would come back into the slave quarters. Now, the fields in the slaves, the slaves in the field did not get. Well, none of them really got any better. The house slaves may have gotten bigger scraps of food in the house, in opposed to what the field slaves got. So the field slaves had more, in what you'd say now, more pent up, and their anger was constant, in opposed to the blacks who were allowed to drive slave masters around or play with their children to keep them happy or stuff like that. So what you find, in order for it was a game of survival in a sense. So what they would do is, if they went back to the slave quarters and heard there was a plot, like for instance here in Jamaica where the Maroons and that kind of thing happened, they now would bring these, whatever plans were made in these corners, they would bring it back to the slave masters and tell them that they're planning to run away, that they're planning to have a opposer, that they're planning to do stuff. You know what I mean? And that would, in turn, have the slave masters just run into the quarters one morning and just beat who to beat, kill who to kill, chop who to chop, and make it so gross that the ones looking on would not even want to be a part of any conversation to do with running away, resisting, or anything like that. And the house slave would be lauded for this. Now, fast forward to 2020. We have seen where from Marcus Garvey to you name all your leaders in terms of heroes who have fought against white supremacy there in Africa, they have all been killed or sold out by fed offsprings of these house slaves, who instead of, some of them are in media, they're in movie, they're in music. They put them in very interesting positions in society. So they are there as the gate to keep the regular populace out of the conversation that is to be, how do we go about really abolishing slavery for real? Why should Africans who have never, well, not say never, but there have always been segregation amongst us as black people. But we always had our own justifications for why villages would fight against village and stuff like that. But why should millions of Africans become night walkers and live uneasy? Women being raped as we speak now, probably thousands are being raped by black men. Who parade as rebels. I would love to speak to the rebels. I would love to speak to the black brothers and sisters who work for the UN, who work for these organizations. I would like to have a conversation with them to ask, when you drive into a foreign vehicle that has UNICEF on it or UN on it, and you drive into communities to make peace, but then the peace is to support white supremacy. How does that help the black race?
exactly.
to better themselves, to be who they are supposed to be if what you're doing is not for them.
Yeah. Especially when you consider the people who work for those huge organizations tend to get paid more than the money you even get to see being put onto the ground. So 100%.
Yes. So these are the things, you know. If you should ask where I stand with the masses.
Yeah.
I stand with the people wherever they find themselves in the world, oppressed by a system that just want them to be objects that serve a certain agenda. You know. And yes, we have to have rules in our world. We have to have changes and differences in our world. But at the same time, should your change be at the detriment of my children?
No.
Yeah. So, Moma, good morning once more. You're talking about change and them thing there. Are you not afraid for your life? Because, you know, say you're a public figure. Most of the people them in the world know who Queen Ifrica is. Are you not afraid when you chant this fire, when you blaze brimstone on Babylon? Are you not afraid? Then question number 2, Mama. You have a young family, Malawi, Tanzania.
Yeah.
What do you teach them regarding Black
you
Lives
notice
Matter?
the name?
African names. Yeah, countries.
Actually, one East African name there, Tanzania.
So what do you teach them,
my
regarding...
biggest son is Imaru.
What do you teach them regarding Black Lives Matter? Because, you know, say, with technology, they can see from themselves on TikTok, on Instagram. But as a mommy, as a mother, what do you teach Tafari, Malawi, Tanzania, and, you're picking them?
To be self-centered, to know what it means to love self, to know what it means to coexist in a world that have many different types of differences, but that should not change you from being who you are. Change also should be choice. People should change because they want to, and they should know what they're changing to and from. You know what I mean? So I don't walk around with a big stick over my children's head and tell them that you have to do this or you have to do that. I let my children grow and I guide them and I watch them as they grow. And I try to give them advice. Like for the case of my first son, he was going to school, he had his locks, it was nice, but kids were mocking him every day. They were on him. They calling him dirty, dreadlocks, all that kind of thing. He came home one day, he was very angry, he was very mad. I cut his locks. I said, all right, cut your locks. See what they're going to do there if you cut your locks. He did. And he wasn't happy with being without his locks. But he was noticing that the changes were different in terms of how his friends were dealing with him, because now he didn't have locks anymore. He had a nice cane row and everybody was okay. But then he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy because deep in his heart, he loved his locks. He wanted to have his locks. And so I just told him that when you were ready to grow it forward, then you could go ahead and grow it because that's what you wanted to do. And now his locks are almost to the ground. So that is how it is. You can't be afraid to live because there's life and there's death. So if you're afraid of death, you're an hypocrite because it comes with who you are. It's a part of your package. And if I am going to use my voice to speak, not to divide, but to show to the person, especially the system is my problem. I target the system. Yes, nobody wins against the system. I hear that over and over and over again. But if Marcus Garvey and all the great warriors before us thought that way, then we wouldn't have a legacy to stand on today. 100%. African youth wouldn't know the importance of taking up themselves and walking into these streets and saying to the powers that be that we're not happy with how we're living and we need you guys to do something about it, because that's what we voted for. My thing is for the masses to get really strong and united together just against the system. So we're demanding better for our children, we're demanding better for our communities, we're demanding better for our villages. African leaders, I'm so disappointed in a lot of our African leaders because you have the power to make Africa independent of every struggle that Africa faces. The leaders have that in their hands. But if the masses are weakened, by the very said house slaves that are put in the middle of them and their problems, then they won't be getting ahead anywhere anytime soon if they don't seriously get up and say, yeah, me man.
Yeah. Actually, one could argue that they have become the house slaves, our African leaders. If you look at it from that perspective, they seem
but it's true.
Yeah.
Look at who you're appointing into offices. Look at how check the trend of every politician everywhere around the world. When it's election time, they take off their nice clothes and they come into the dirt and they're planting trees and they're kissing babies and they're echoing all the sentiments of the poor. Everything that the poor is saying, yes, this is the person that's going to help us. Did you hear what he said? He's going to abolish the fact that black villages can't have water. We haven't had water for 40 years. Let's go vote for her. Let's go vote for him. Yeah. And then they get into this pretty big building that they call Parliament. Yeah. And there goes the idea of the change, the dream, the better life.
Yeah, true, for real.
So if the people, if the masses does not step up now in their villages, in their communities, wherever they find themselves, let go the wars among yourselves. You're not the reason why you're poor. A system is the reason why you're poor. So don't blame your poor brother next to you because he's poor too or she's poor too. Come together and figure out how you can be poor no more. And the best way is to go to the parliament houses. It's your right. You put them there. They should answer
they work
to
for
you.
Yeah. Moving on, but now it seems almost as if you've answered my question for me. Your songs, as a songwriter, your songs are so storytelling. They're so graphic. I mean, if you listen to any Queen Ifrica music, it's it's impossible not to understand the message of the song clear time and time again when you listen to the music. And actually hearing you speak, I can understand why, because how you speak is very explanatory, it's very clear, it's very passionate. But when you're sitting down to write a song, how do you channel all of that energy and say, you know what, I need to streamline this, and I want anyone who listens to my music to be very clear in what it is that I am trying to say from this record?
Well, I write to be impactful. I don't write like when I tell people that I don't write like I'm going to get a hit song. Like people be like, "Yeah, Queen, whatever." But the truth is, if I get a rhythm, first of all, I listen to the message that the rhythm is saying. You know, because I am fascinated with the fact that a few musicians can come together, play some instruments, and it comes together so beautifully that the entire 7 billion people of the world, if they come across it, they'll be like, wow, who did this? I am fascinated by that. So I don't take that for granted. So if I get a rhythm, I try to dance with the rhythm and know the rhythm and what would you like me to say, rhythm? You know what I mean? And then I start now by saying, okay, I look around, I see what's happening, I look at the topical issues, the issues that are not just topical but are really affecting people in whatever way it is at the time. And then I say, all right, how do we put a solution-based message around a track to be a part of the conversation? So if you really clinically listen to how I write, there's always a solution, whether in the second verse or the third. But there's always going to be something I'll mention of the problem, but my main focus is solution. Because I am not an angel that was born with wings and just come drinking milk and honey and I'm supposed to give this message because I'm so innocent. I came from a very dark place. And the thing about people who come from dark places are they only want light.
Yeah.
When
you
come
don't
from
want
darkness,
to go for it. Yeah.
Yes, when you come from darkness, all you want is light, you know? And so that's how I play out. I am the person who will tell you that it doesn't matter what you've been through in your life, you have the power to change the outcome of your future.
100%.
See? And so that's how I write. I want to make sure that if Boko Haram, let's say, is kidnapping 200 girls and taking them into the hills and indoctrinating them into becoming Muslims and letting go of the Western world and all of that. And the way it is portrayed in the West is like Boko Haram is the wickedest thing on 2 feet. He's killing 200 girls and all of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just run and say, down with Boko Haram.
Yeah.
I'd like to look in there and see what's really happening. What would cause a Boko Haram to behave in this way?
Sure.
Yeah.
What was his trigger? You know what I mean? And this is how I just put my music together, by not just being on a side or another, but being on the side of truth to
And
the best
masses,
of my
and
opinion.
the masses. Yeah, I like that.
So,
And the masses, of course.
Moma, we're about to let you have breakfast. We have like 2 minutes to go. So what's the message to the Kenyans listening in, the Africans listening in, you know? Like, what's the message for your Moma all the way from Jamaica right now? What you tell the people them?
I love you, Heno. You're such an entertainer, man. All right. So what I'd say, especially to the young people of Africa, Kenya, Nairobi, seeing the moment is now for you to see the way your future is being played out for you. So if there's an election to be held in Kenya, it is in your power to look at the candidates, to look at what they're doing, their track records. How do they help young people? How do they help the African villages that are left behind? How do they speak when they are in the public places? What do they say? Why do they say it? Is it because they want to get in? These things, if you start looking at these things, it would help you to make a better decision at the polls when you go there to vote for your future. Aside from that, all the youth, especially the nowadays youth that are influenced by music is where they go for what they know and what they learn. Be careful of what you listen to. Be careful of what you put into your subconscious, because music is not something that is just for dancing and laughing and having fun. It's a gift that was given to us by the atoms to use as a tool for change. It can go anywhere in one instant. So you have the power to choose what goes into your psyche. Jamaica has failed a lot in terms of how we are doing music now for the youth. It's a lot about gun violence and drinking and promiscuity and behaving badly and no respect for your elders, and that has mashed up Jamaica. That has brought Jamaica to a halt.
Oh, wow.
All right, Moma.
Fire. That was fire. Thank you so much. That was incredible.
I love you guys.
Thank you so much.
And thank
we
you
love
for the
you.
support.
We love you.
Every time, Moma, thank you. Say hi to
time.
Malawi and the rest of the family, yeah?
I will.
Take care.
The #1 reggae radio station, on air, online, everywhere. World.